it's funny because I found myself on Leaks Peaks channel. And, it's not a channel that I go to very often. I don't have any problems with the channel, though. She does her thing. And there was a recording, and I have this recording, but I just haven't listened to it in a long time, where Cindy says, she talks about Kim Kaufman, and everyone who knows, remembers Kim Kaufman. She had a channel and she was talking about getting a 35C for Chris. And Ronnie was telling her, we support everything that you do. And, in this conversation, Cindy said that Kim Kaufman has been helping them a lot. And it just kind of resonated with me so much that, Cindy was willing to basically latch herself onto anybody that was going to get Chris out, And, when you think about it now on reflection, if you know anything about Kim Kaufman, she didn't help them do anything. She didn't help them. But yet Cindy's there praising her for helping them so much. And I think that says a lot when you realize that she didn't help them do anything. She didn't say anything. She didn't fulfill any of the things that she said that she was going to do or help do. So I got a lot of feedback from my last video podcast that I made about Cindy and Ronnie's live stream with Dave. And it would be, it's appropriate to address the comments that I got. And I just want to say this, and this is an added extra to this podcast that I hadn't included originally. At number 56 minutes and 50 seconds into Dave's live stream, he says he alludes to the fact that people confess to things that they didn't do. And Cindy and Ronnie, they jump on that. They say, that's what happened to Chris. That's what happened to Chris. So when I say that Cindy and Ronnie are still in denial, that's very much what I mean. I think a part of them still wants to believe that he didn't do anything. And yes, they acknowledge that he's done something, but I think the fact that they can only acknowledge a small part of what he might have done kind of shows you that they are still in denial. And I think that Dave encourages their thinking, but I actually understand that they know now that it's too late to do anything. It's just too late. And I can hear the regret in Cindy's voice when she speaks, because I think she wishes that she had done something, and I'm going to allude to this and speak about this more at the end of this podcast. So the next joke that Star Mama, Honey Badger and Miss Mensa are trying to say about me is that my food photography is not mine. I'm taking the photos from magazines. I actually think that is a huge compliment. If you think that my photographs come from magazines, it is hard to do good food photography, and you really do have to edit photographs. I always keep the originals of my photographs, particularly my food photography, just in case, that I have to go to court one day and prove that they're actually mine. But all the food photography is mine. I would never take a photograph from a magazine. Find the rack of lamb photo that I've taken, Star Mama. Find the magazine that came from. It's YouTube. I have a bit of a laugh with it. There are going to be people that make up things about you, like, when Miss Mensa said that Dave doesn't have a passport, that he's not really talking to Ronnie and Cindy Watts. You kind of just have to laugh, at three old ladies jabbering on and on about you. I have a bit of fun with it. I don't particularly like it, but I have a bit of fun with it. So happy Valentine's or post-Valentine's, my subs. Whether I put this out on Valentine's Day or after, I want to wish my subs and people who visit this channel in good faith a happy Valentine's Day. Now, these are the things that are coming up on this podcast. Is Natasha Cooper back? I'm having a bit of a back and forth with Dave, which is quite interesting. And I'm also going to talk about the Super Bowl and what I think about Rihanna's performance. But more specifically, this video is about Cindy and Ronnie Watts. Now, my most viewed long video is actually about Cindy Watts. It's got 14k views, and it's actually moving into 15k views soon. And I've talked a fair amount about Cindy Watts and given you my opinion on her, but I've never actually spoken that much about Ronnie Watts. So I'm going to look into his character, look into his personality, look into what he says, because I've never done that before. And I was meaning to do it when Kim Kaufman was here, because she did an interview with Ronnie Watts, but I just never got around to it. So I want to deal with that today. Tell you what I think about Cindy and Ronnie as a couple, as parents, what I think about what they say in their opinions. So that's all coming up on this podcast. Now, before I really get started, I want to say that I respect Ronnie and Cindy Watts. And I also realize that I have been very highly critical of Cindy in the past. But I believe that she deserved the criticism that I gave her. Having said that, I understand that as a mother, as a parent, it is very difficult to comprehend what the son she knew did. I understand that. So, there's different phases of, there's different phases of grief, and denial can last for a very, very long time. And you can go back and forth with each stage of feeling. And so I understand, and I do believe that she still is in denial. I think she accepts that, he's not getting out, but I don't think she accepts that he's fully responsible for his own actions. And that's what I was trying to say to Dave in a comment that he wrote on the last video. He says that, I didn't watch his video fully, because if I had, I would know that, they've completely accepted it. I don't think they've completely accepted the fact that he's fully responsible for his actions and that there's no one else to blame. That's my personal opinion. They seem to be constantly trying to throw shade or point fingers at other people. Look, Chris has to be responsible for his own actions. His family were found where he works. He was the only one left. He said he didn't know where his family were, but they were exactly where he worked. They were at the site where he worked as a field coordinator. It's not hard to put two and two together when you look into that marriage and see what happened. It's obvious what happened. And to be fully accepting and to be completely free of denial, you have to understand and fully accept that your son did it all. And I'm not saying that Shanann was an easy person to live with. I'm not saying that she was perfect in any way. In fact, quite the opposite. It's obvious that he had bit off a little bit more than he could chew with Shanann. But at the same time, he's responsible for his own actions. And I wish that they would acknowledge that he's fully responsible for his own actions, rather than saying stuff about Tammy and Coda and D.A. Rourke. None of them had anything to do with this, with what happened to Shanann and the girls. None of them. They were just doing their jobs. And, it's not always easy to get information out of somebody. And you might be with them for hours. And, you have to try every trick in the trade, every trick in the book to try and get them to speak and be honest. It's not easy. It might seem easy, but it's not. It's not their fault. They might not be perfect people, but it's not their fault. I wish that, and I hope that there will come a time when Cindy and Ronnie can fully accept that there's no one else to blame but their son. That is full acceptance, and that is being free of being in denial. Star Mama, Honey Badger, and Miss Mensa claim they can't stand to hear my voice, yet they come to my channel repeatedly to listen to me, to watch me. They know that I tell the truth, but they don't want to give me credit for that because they don't like me. Look, if you can't stand to hear my voice, you don't have to come to my channel and listen to me, Miss Mensa and Star Mama and Honey Badger. You have other options. So, Miss Mensa's channel, they were talking about me and saying that I'm paid opposition. There's this idea that I was working for the Rusex, or I am working for the Rusex. So the Rusex are paying me to say that the lawyer that they represented as a lawyer is not really a lawyer. They're paying me to say that Claire Morgan isn't a lawyer, are they? I mean, does that make sense? I mean, it just boggles the mind what people think will fly. Because how does it make sense that I'm saying to Frankie that he should pay people back, refund people? I'm saying that a lawyer that a person that they represented as a lawyer isn't a lawyer. I'm basically saying things that they wouldn't want me to say, but they're apparently paying me to say these things. I'm apparently on their payroll. Does it make sense? I've never worked for the Rusex one day in my life. I know that's something that Justin has claimed in one of his videos, but Justin doesn't tell the truth. So, I've never worked for the Rusex, ever. Never was I on their payroll, ever. And I'm a very independent thinking person. Like I said, Justin Lee does not tell the truth. And I'm going to expose some of these things later on, in the coming weeks and months, things that have been said that are not true. And I'm going to do it with class, and I'm going to do it with dignity, and I'm going to do it with integrity. The other thing that Honey Badger claimed, that I praised Dave for giving Cindy and Ronnie a platform, but I didn't do the same with Miss Mensa. Well, the difference is, when Cindy Watts came on Miss Mensa's channel to do an interview, all Miss Mensa and Cindy did was talk about Shanann this, Shanann that, Shanann. All the responsibility was put on Shanann. All the blame was put on Shanann. I still think that Cindy and Ronnie both hold Shanann accountable for a lot of things. But I do also think that they have evolved a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. And when they came on Dave's channel, it wasn't just centered around Shanann. They talked about, an array of different topics. And yes, I do commend Dave for giving them a platform to speak out years after, because when Cindy came on Miss Mensa's channel to do an interview, it was still the early days and she was still on the same, Shanann trip. Now she's evolved. It's years later, and Dave has built a friendship with Cindy and Ronnie Watson. Whether we think it's genuine or not is not even, an issue right now. The fact of the matter is, he's in contact with Ronnie and Cindy. He's given them a platform. He has a much bigger platform than Miss Mensa. And we get to see what they think now. And whether we agree with what they say or not is irrelevant. I think it's good that Dave has given them a platform to speak out years later. Does that mean that I agree with everything that Cindy and Ronnie say? No, I don't. And like I said, when Miss Mensa did the interview with Cindy, it was all centered around Shanann. And that's the difference. They were talking about not just Shanann with Dave's channel. And I think the way Dave handled the interview or the conversation was with a little bit more class. I don't agree with everything that Dave says either. Now, I don't agree with everything that Dave says or thinks. However, I think the comparison between Cindy and Miss Mensa just talking about Shanann and putting all the blame on Shanann, and the difference between that and Dave giving both Cindy and Ronnie a platform to speak on years after the fact, I think it's a different scenario. It's a different situation. Doesn't mean that I agree with everything that Dave says or does. To summarize, and I might do part 2 of this video because I don't think I could get everything down in one podcast. But to summarize, I get the feeling, and it's just a feeling, I get the feeling that both Cindy and Ronnie wish that Chris had gotten away with it. That's the feeling that I get. And it's just a feeling. And that's just how I feel. That's just my opinion. I get the feeling that, they regret that they didn't do more to help him, not be held responsible for it. And that's a feeling that I get. And I might talk more about this in a second episode in more detail, but that's the feeling that I get, that their regret is that he didn't get away with it. So anyway, I'm moving on to the Super Bowl now, and I'm probably going to do a part 2 of this video because I think there's more to cover. I thought that the Rihanna's performance was quite lackluster. I had no idea that she was pregnant. She did a press conference and an interview before the Super Bowl, and she didn't say a word. So that was a revelation. However, as lackluster as I thought it was, and if I was to compare her performance to Beyonce's performance, and Beyonce knocked it out of the park when she did Super Bowl. But having said that, it kind of really doesn't matter, because I think that grading somebody on everything when it comes to the Super Bowl, there's an atmosphere at the Super Bowl that even if a performance is lackluster, you can still enjoy it and have a good time. I mean, Rihanna does have a lot of hits. She does, and she sang them. I was disappointed to see that she didn't bring Jay-Z on stage for Umbrella. Jay-Z was apparently there, and I would have liked to have seen her sing the Umbrella song with him, seeing as he raps on the original song. Donald Trump is not impressed. I'll probably do an impression of him in another video. She does have a lot of hits, and she did go through them, and power to her for being pregnant and being able to do the Super Bowl. A lot of people would have said no, but she did it. I do actually like Rihanna, and I do think she has a lot of hits. I think she has a lot of good songs. However, the overall performance didn't wow me in any way, and that's just my honest assessment of her performance. So happy Valentine's, and there'll probably be a part 2 of this, maybe on Sunday.